Hello, this is Alex Innecco, and today we're going to talk about Rigoletto. A palestra em português já aconteceu, pode procurar aí. Now this is a lecture in English, okay, about Verdi's Rigoletto. And we'll start right away with, we will describe a little bit, as we always do, we will describe a little bit about the where it came from, about the composer, and how do things work from there. Okay, remember that this lecture is part of a series that we're calling How to Enjoy Opera, and we've already done Carmen, La Traviata, Tosca, and a brief very quick opera history video. Okay, so this is our 5th video in that series, and it's called Understanding Rigoletto, Enjoying Rigoletto, How to Enjoy Rigoletto. Okay, thank you very much for all of you for being here. Okay, Rigoletto is an opera written by Verdi in 1851. Crazy 3 years where Verdi wrote Rigoletto in 51 and Trovatore and Traviata in 53. I'm not sure about those other, but I know that between 51 and 53 he wrote Rigoletto, Trovatore, and Traviata, which is incredibly absurd. Rigoletto is based on a play by Victor Hugo, French playwright and novelist, who also wrote Les Mis, that everybody knows, and The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which are two amazing works and very famous. Okay, so Rigoletto is based on Le Roi s'amuse, the king amuses himself, which is a play that was written in 1832 and that opened in 1832 and closed the same day after the censors thought it was too much, and it was banned in France for 50 years when it opened again with success. Okay, so listen to this. Let's talk a little bit about Victor Hugo, who is the writer of the original play called Le Roi s'amuse, the king amuses himself, from 1832. So Victor Hugo was a son of a general with Napoleon's army. Very interesting. Because of that, he traveled a lot. Okay, his father was sort of a military attaché or something, so he traveled a lot throughout Europe, and that as a kid, that brought a lot of elements for his novels later on. Okay, so you know, children absorb everything that they see, and that happened with Victor Hugo. Okay, he wrote The Hunchback. Oh, I said that already, but Victor Hugo lived through a very complicated era of French politics. The 19th century in France was like huge turmoil. If you haven't studied the French Revolution and French politics in the 19th century, it may come to you as a surprise that the monarchy did not end in 1789 in France. That was the first blow to monarchy, but throughout the 19th century, monarchy keeps coming back, okay, even with different houses, okay, so not only the Bourbons and all that, we have different houses of monarchy in the 19th century in France. And Republic finally in 1850, I think, I'm not sure. Anyway, so, and also it's interesting to note in Victor Hugo's biography that he lost his favorite daughter. He was his oldest, I'm not sure, his eldest daughter. She drowned from a boat in the Seine River in Paris, and her husband jumped to save her and died also. And to make matters even more romantic, Victor Hugo, the father of this girl who died, found out through the newspaper. He was traveling and he found out through the newspaper and rushed back to Paris. Anyway, tragic, but this is the romantic period. Remember that in Romanticism, we prefer the night to the day, we prefer suffering to joy, we prefer the moon to the sun, okay? So this is the romantic period, and Victor Hugo not only writes in the romantic period, but his own life is kind of part of it, okay? So this is the writer, okay, of the original play called The King Amuses Himself, Le Roi s'amuse, which came to be in 1832 during the kingdom of Louis Philippe I, who reigned from 1830 to 1848, the King of France. Yes, the King of France in the 19th century. Yes, after the French Revolution. So it's very complicated, okay? If you're not French, it may come as a surprise, all of this, okay? So, what is the problem with the play, The King Amuses Himself? Why did it have, why was it censored? Because it talked about real life characters. The play is inspired in the character of Francis I, François Ier of France, who existed, and his name was Francis I, François Ier. So, do you understand? It's complicated. And the play is also his court jester, Triboulet, who also existed in real life, okay? Triboulet, if you go to read a little bit about him, Triboulet, Triboulet. He was a vicious jester. He as it was demanded of the jesters, they had to make fun of the courtiers in front of the king, okay? It wasn't the other way around. So he was not a loved person in the court of François I. So, or Francis I. There is this story about Triboulet that he spanked the king in the ass. What? Yes, le derrière royal. And then the king looked back and said, Triboulet, I'll kill you for this. And then he thought, now let me ask you this: if you can think of an apology that is more offensive than the offense itself, I will pardon you. And then Triboulet thought a little, and he said, I'm sorry, king, I spanked you because I thought you were the queen. Ah! And the king thought that was more offensive than the offense itself, and pardoned Triboulet. Very interesting story. The other story about Triboulet is that he told the king, the king decided to kill Triboulet because he had really offended another nobleman who, and the king said, well, you know, he asked me to put you to death. I have no choice. But since you've been a great jester, I will let you choose the way you want to die. And Triboulet thought about it again, and he said, I know, I want to die of old age. And the king acquiesced. Is that English? I don't know. The king agreed, okay? So that's a little bit about Triboulet and Francis I, two characters that existed in real life and that Victor Hugo used in his play Le Roi s'amuse. The problem with The King Amuses Himself then is that Victor Hugo portrays the king as a womanizer, as a real bad character, and that was problematic. So the play opened and then closed, okay? Banned. So there you go. What else? Oh, another something that is interesting to note also is that 1832, the year when The King Amuses Himself was released, the play, is the year when all those revolts that happened in all those riots that happened in Paris in 1832, those were the riots about which Victor Hugo writes Les Miserables. So the riots of Les Mis happened the year he released Le Roi s'amuse. But Les Mis he was going to release only 30 years later in 1862 and come out obviously to be his most famous work. Okay, so a little bit about Victor Hugo, about the play, and now about Rigoletto itself. Verdi, who loved trouble with censorship, he was a citizen of his time. Amazing. I mean, zeitgeist. Really amazing. Verdi read the play, thought the play was phenomenal, and wanted to do an opera on the play. And his librettist, Francesco Maria Piave, all of the good operas, all Verdi's good operas are written by his librettist is Piave. And Piave really said, Verdi, please, we gotta do this. This is gonna be great. So they really fought censorship. Whose censorship? Well, this is another historic aside. The northern part of Italy had been invaded many times by Austria, okay, right across the mountains, on the other side of the mountains, Austria, and then northern Italy, Venice, Milan. And at that time, it was occupied by the Austrian forces. So Verdi had already had some trouble with Nabucco, because Nabucco, a few years earlier, which opened in Milan, was officially about Nebuchadnezzar. I can never pronounce this Bible name, Nabucco, in English, okay? And the Hebrew slaves in Egypt, okay? So, but everybody knew, va pensiero sull'ale dorate. Everybody knew that that was not about Hebrew slaves. It was about Italians under Austrian occupation. Okay, so that's why it's speaking through symbols, and that's why censors didn't like it either. Okay, so this time censors were, already prepared for some weird stuff by Verdi. So they played the card. They said, you cannot do The King Amuses Himself. You have to change the plot. You have to change everything. Verdi, instead of changing the plot, he changed the characters. So instead of Francis I, it became the Duke of Mantua, because Mantua is a real city, but the dukedom of Mantua did not exist anymore. It had existed in the past, but it didn't exist anymore. So it was not about a Duke of Mantua that someone could say, oh, he's speaking about this. No, okay? And instead of using Triboulet, which was a very famous jester, he changed the name from Triboulet to Rigoletto, which is a play on words. Rigoler in French means to laugh. Je rigolais. And so Rigolet plus Triboulet became Rigoletto. Okay, very smart, Verdi. So everybody knew what he was talking about, but it wasn't officially about Francis I and Triboulet. Okay, so there we go. What else? Oh, there's something funny here that I forgot to say in the Portuguese lecture. La Donna Mobile, which is from this opera, obviously, La Donna Mobile was so successful. And Verdi was so afraid that people were going to copy it, that the tenor only sang it in opening night. Okay, it was rehearsed with the orchestra 2 hours before the opening, before the curtains went up. And so the orchestra only heard it opening night. Amazing. That is amazing. Okay. Now, the plot itself. Let's talk about Rigoletto. When the overture starts, you know that this is not gonna be a comedy, okay? It's very tragic. It's already tragic. It's a very short overture, and he ends the overture like this. 2 minutes. That's it. The overture is done, and as the curtain opens, we are in the Duke of Mantua's palace. Okay, the Duke is there, the courtiers are there, the jester Rigoletto is there. Okay, and Rigoletto is doing jester things, talking poorly about everybody, and the Duke is laughing and being a womanizer as he sings. Questo, quella, which means this one or that one, it doesn't matter. I wanna, how should I say? I wanna take them all to bed. Okay, so he's this girl, that girl. I want them all. Okay, so he's in the first scene. He's already presenting himself as a womanizer, as a man of poor taste, of poor character. Okay, that was one of the problems with the censorship. Okay. And as they are there doing courtier things, who shows up? The chorus just has said his name, Monterone. Who's Monterone? Monterone is a nobleman who the Duke of Mantua has just slept with his wife, and he's very angry. Well, who blames him? And so he's angry at the Duke, and the Duke said, "Okay, you're gonna be angry about that. I'm gonna have you killed." And he has Monterone killed, and the Duke is making fun of that. The Duke slept with your wife, and now you're gonna be killed. Very nasty. Okay, Rigoletto is very nasty. Okay, a nasty opera, nasty character. It's all very nasty. Anyway, Monterone does what he can. He's gonna die. He doesn't care. So he looks at Rigoletto and says, "You serpent, e tu serpente, sia maledetto." Oh my God, you be cursed, which is something that you cannot do in Italy. Okay, I'm telling you. Curses are real in Italy. Okay, my dad was Italian. He wouldn't take his family picture to his workplace because he was afraid that people would give it a bad eye. A bad eye in Italy. It's like, oh my God, they're gonna put a curse on this family. So he wouldn't have a photo of us there in his working place. So in Italy, it worked. These things work. So there's two famous curses in opera history. Rigoletto, when Monterone curses Rigoletto, and then in Cavalleria Rusticana, the lady decides, "To you a bad Easter! I wish you a bad Easter!" Which is a horrible curse to wish someone a bad Easter. Okay, really, it's not gonna work. Anyway, back to Rigoletto. So the scene ends as Rigoletto says, "Oh my God, that old man, he cursed me. This is not gonna be fine." And in Italian, curse is maledizione. La maledizione, which is actually the other title to Rigoletto. It's Rigoletto, la maledizione. Okay? Anyway, so that's the first scene. Okay? Rigoletto is cursed for wishing, for making fun of Monterone. Second scene, we are in Rigoletto's home. Why? Rigoletto has a daughter. Okay, her name is Gilda. The court thinks that Rigoletto is hiding a wife. He's hiding his wife. It's not his wife, it's his daughter. Okay? But to make fun of Rigoletto, they decide to kidnap his wife, which is in fact his daughter. And they tell the Duke, they say, "Hey Duke, this is gonna be fun. We're gonna kidnap Rigoletto's wife so that you can sleep with her." This is gonna be fun. He's hiding his wife. It's not his wife, it's his daughter. Anyway, Rigoletto goes home. Of course, he doesn't know about his plot, but he goes home after the first scene, and finds his daughter. This is music for his daughter. Okay, Verdi is very good with melodies, and he finds his daughter. She's young, and you hear this. This is like a child at play. Okay, so Rigoletto finds his daughter there, and they have this marvelous duet. It's phenomenal how Verdi can write beautifully for baritone and soprano in this fatherly-daughter relationship. The same kind of duet happens in the second act of Traviata when the father-in-law that doesn't want to be a father-in-law, Giorgio Germont, is going to ask Violetta not to be with his son. And you have also in Traviata the same it's a 15-minute long duet between baritone and soprano. Italians are very big on this thing of father-daughter, okay? Everybody is, but in Italy it's very desperate, okay? Oh, daddy, oh, daughter. Anyway, so they sing this gorgeous duet when it becomes established that Rigoletto has this weak spot, which is Gilda. Okay, so Rigoletto is a very mean man, but he has a weak spot. He loves his daughter, and that will become his Achilles heel, and that will destroy him in the end. Anyway, so as Rigoletto, okay, they say goodbye, daddy. I think Rigoletto goes to buy bread or whatever he goes. He leaves the house. And at that moment, who shows up? Exactly, the Duke. Woo! The Duke shows up and he says, oh, don't be afraid, my child. I am a student and I am poor. And Gilda is so dumb. Poor Gilda. She knows nothing. She falls for it. Okay, so Gilda says, oh, a poor student. Oh, and your name is Gualtier Malde. Oh, what a beautiful name. I fell in love. I just fell in love. It's terrible, but that's how it goes, okay? She's very young. She's obviously a virgin, and she knows nothing, so she falls for the student, which is in fact a poor student. It's very funny because studente sono e povero. I'm a student and I'm poor. Like, okay, sure. So I'm in love now. Anyway, it's the Duke, and the Duke is going to have a talk with Gilda later on. Anyway, as the Duke leaves, who shows up? All the courtiers to kidnap Gilda. And they kidnap Gilda, and as they're leaving with Gilda, I've almost forgot. Before they leave, the Duke leaves, and Gilda sings the most beautiful aria, the soprano aria of the opera, which is Caro nome, okay? It's gorgeous. It's really gorgeous. Remember that all the soundtrack to these talks, which I cannot play here because of copyright, all the soundtrack is in Spotify, in ECAI's Spotify, which you find all of the lists for these lectures, for all of ECAI's lectures on YouTube. Okay, they're all on Spotify, and they're free. Go there. There is, if you're on YouTube, click on the link here below and you will find the link to the list. Okay, you can hear it. So you can hear Gilda sing Caro no. It's very interesting. The introduction is by flutes. They're playing thirds, I think. And you usually when flutes appear in operas is because someone is nuts, someone went crazy, okay? Flutes, think of Lucia di Lammermoor, for example, the duet with the flute duet in the cadenza, in the madness aria. Lucia is mad, okay? So crazy. So flutes, okay? What else? So she sings Caro nome, which is, oh my God, I'm in love with this man whose name is Gualtier Malde, and I'm in love. And as she finishes it, then the courtiers show up, kidnap her, and as they're leaving, Rigoletto is arriving, but it's dark. This is another thing that you have to understand about opera, okay? If the light comes down a little bit, nobody can see anything. This happens in so many Mozart operas, for example, the third act, where, people, oh my God, I can't see you. Everybody can see, but you can't, okay? So Rigoletto can't see that it's his own daughter who's being kidnapped. And as they kind of blindfold him, but anyway, it's complicated. All you need to know is that Gilda has been kidnapped, and Rigoletto finds out by the end of this scene, and he screams, what? Oh, la maledizione! Oh, the curse. Curtain falls. Third scene. Remember, first scene is in the castle. Second scene in Rigoletto's house. Now the third scene, we are back in the Duke's palace. And the Duke is kind of in bed with Gilda, and it's very sad because she's a virgin and he just destroyed her virginity. And who shows up? The courtiers are outside the Duke's room where he is talking to Gilda, and Rigoletto shows up, and so what's going on? And they said, no, nothing, Rigoletto, everything is fine. Oh, you kid. Anyway, he suddenly finds out that Gilda is inside the Duke's room, and he falls apart. Open the door, and he sings this Cortigiani. This is wonderful. It's one of the best baritone arias ever. Go listen to it, okay? Cortigiani. What is fantastic in this aria, which is 6-7 minutes long, is that he goes from angry to destroyed. And Verdi shows that in the melody and in the orchestration. Pietà, pietà signori di me. Pietà, it's gorgeous, where he says, have pity on me, she's all my family, she's all I've got. And they figure out at that moment that it's his daughter, but oh, how sad. Yeah, tough, okay? It's happened, okay? And Gilda comes out of the room and she says, Daddy, it's all my fault, he said he was a student, and it's all my fault. Anyway, so there you go. The mess is done. And the third scene ends with Rigoletto swearing revenge. Vendetta in Italian. Okay? So, that is it. And now we are on the last scene where some of the greatest music ever written for opera happens. First, we are outside of Mantua in some inn, okay, where the Duke went to have some fun with a prostitute called Maddalena. Okay, that was also a part of the problem with the censors. How can a Duke be with a prostitute? Anyway, who cares? But just so that you know, this is what happened. Okay, the problem. So the Duke is inside the inn with Maddalena, the prostitute, and outside the inn we have Gilda and Rigoletto, and they sing this quartet, which is glorious. Bella figlia dell'amore, schiavi son dei vezzi tuoi. It's gorgeous because you actually have two duets. You have simultaneous. Okay, you have the Duke and Maddalena inside, tenor and mezzo soprano, and they're singing evil stuff. Okay, she's singing, it's kind of a chicken sound. Okay, it's not a high character. Verdi is great at portraying characters through their music. So the Duke, Maddalena, outside the house, you have Rigoletto, Oh, he's singing, he's poignant. He's trying to show Gilda, look at the man that you fell in love with. Look at it. He's with a prostitute. And Gilda sings, and wonderful, phenomenal, angel-like melody. Okay, so this is interesting to see. And every character speaks at the same time. They all sing at the same time, and you can hear different sounds and lyrics, and you can understand everything. Only in opera that is possible, that all the characters talk at the same time, and you get their point. It's phenomenal. Okay, so this is the quartet, one of the most brilliant music ever written. Before the quartet, obviously, the Duke has sung La donna immobile, qual piuma al vento, muta d'accento e di pensiero, which means all the women are fickle and they change their minds, which all the psychologists may help me here. It's a transference, okay? Obviously, the Duke is fickle, but not the ladies, but he's transferring that to the ladies because, you know, he's too good for that. Anyway, as the quartet ends, the Rigoletto is convinced that his daughter understood that, you know, well, come on, the Duke is horrible, and he's done whatever he needed to do with Maddalena, and now he's taking a nap inside the inn. But Gilda says, no, I'm gonna save him from this prostitute. I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna save him because I love him. Oh boy. Anyway, remember on the third scene when I said that Rigoletto swore revenge. What is the revenge? He wanted to kill the Duke. So he hired a guy called Sparafucile to kill the Duke. Well, coincidence. Sparafucile's sister is Maddalena, exactly, the prostitute. So, you know, they have a talk. Maddalena and Sparafucile have a talk inside the inn, and they say, well, look, let's not kill the Duke. You know, he's so cute. Anyway, he's powerful. It's going to be trouble. Instead of killing the Duke, let's do this. Kill the first person who arrives there in the inn, and, you know, put him in a sack, give to Rigoletto, and tell it's the Duke. He's not going to, you know, he's just going to throw the body in the river. He's not going to make sure it's the Duke. Anyway, all opera, okay? It's all crazy, all nuts. Anyway, who knocks at the door? Gilda, exactly. It's actually in the score. There's a storm going on. The flute is now lightning. It's all on the score. You have to knock very hard, okay? Anyway, they open the door, Gilda comes in, they kill Gilda, or so they think, you know, stab a knife on her, and they put her in a sack, and they give the sack to Rigoletto and say, here's your Duke, good luck with him. And Rigoletto goes to the river to throw the Duke on the river. As he's throwing the Duke in the river, he hears La donna mobile in the back, and he says, oh crap, it's not the Duke. Who is this in the bag? And he opens the sack, and who is it? Gilda, mia figlia! And obviously, because this is an opera, Gilda is stabbed to death, but before she dies, she still has the time and the energy to sing an aria, okay? And they sing a little duet there where she says, oh, Daddy, it was all my fault and I'm dying, but from heaven, I am going to pray for you. I'm going to be with Mom in heaven, but I'm going to sing and I'm gonna oversee you. Hey, Daddy. And she dies. And obviously, what does Rigoletto says? Ah, la maledizione! Oh, the curse. Remember the curse from the first act? That's what it is. I told you it was going to work. So, and how does it sound in the end? What is the curse? This is the last chords of Rigoletto when he says... very sad. Rigoletto was the first opera I've ever conducted, and I will always be grateful to my friend Stuart Lutzenheiser, a great tenor, who invited me to the Seattle area in the Puget Sound region, the Bellevue Opera Company, and it was so much fun. Great orchestra, great choir, great soloists. I got to know so many great people there. Wonderful Seattle. And I will always treasure this first Rigoletto that I conducted, because I never worked so hard in my life to understand the language of opera and of conducting opera, because I had sung opera in the chorus and in first roles, but never conducted it. And it was all because of Stuart Lutzenheiser and his wonderful family, the Lutzenheisers, who invited me to Seattle, and I will forever be grateful to them. As I'm grateful to all my friends here in Brazil at ECAI who support me and keep me alive during this quarantine. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Rigoletto. Remember that this is part of a series of operas that we are doing here at this channel. Enjoy, explore the channel. We have music history classes, we have opera history classes, we have the musical dictionary in Portuguese and English, and I hope you can explore this and have fun with it, okay? Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.